Hey guys, welcome to Raj Malhotra IAS. Today in this video, we are going to look into that what are the recent recommendations of the World Health Organization on the human genome editing. Guys, this is a very important topic because this topic is not just related to science, that it is not just covering the sphere of human genome editing, but it also has ethical repercussions. So, all right, so here at Raj Malhotra IAS, we bring to you a small discussion on that what are the recent World Health Organization recommendations on human genome editing. Let us go ahead. So guys, if we talk about what is human genome, or basically what is human genome sequencing. So human genome sequencing basically refers to the act by which you go for mapping all the genes which are present in human genome. So if we first talk about human genome refers to all genetic material, all right? It refers to all genetic material that is present in the human being, all right? So that is known as basically genome or human genome because it deals with the human genetic material. Now, if you look at this diagram on the slide, this is a chromosome, and this chromosome consists of entire genetic material. This entire genetic material is basically known as genome. All right. Now, what we are doing in human genome sequencing, we are mapping the genes which are present on the entire genetic material. So what are genes now? So if you look at the definition of genes, genes are nothing but they are the segments of the DNA. And these genes, they are containing the information about a certain trait that is present in the individual. Then these genes, they are transcribed and transcripted by the cell to make proteins. And then these proteins are responsible for giving a particular kind of trait. All right, so the proteins, they create a visible phenomena. All right. Now, for example, if you look at this particular diagram here, so like, for example, these two purple segments of the DNA, all right, they might be responsible for purple eye. So this is a gene that is responsible for coloring of the eye purple. And let's say these green parts that you can see, they are the genes which are responsible for the green color of the eyes. So genes express themselves, and when they express themselves, they result into synthesis of protein. And when they synthesize the protein, they result into the display of the phenotypical characteristics of the individual. So what do we learn from here? We learn from here a very simple fact that genes, all right, we call them as genotype. This is the genetic makeup or the genes or the genotype of the individual. These genes, they are transcripted, all right, they are transcribed, they are transcribed over, this has to be transcribed. They are transcribed and translated, all right. So by transcribed, they are converted into mRNA, and mRNA is translated by ribosomes. This results into synthesis of protein, and this protein is responsible for the phenotype or the physical appearance of the individual. All right, so genotype to phenotype, this is responsible because of genes, or this is possible because of genes. So the proteins, they give up the physical appearance, and the genes contain the information that tell the protein what type of physical appearance to be given. And the submission of all genes together, that is basically known as the genome. So right now, a very hotshot topic is there, and that is known as human genome sequencing. So what people are doing, people are mapping all the genes, all right, people are mapping all genes that are making up the part of human genetic material. Now, this has some positive applications. For example, any genetic disease can be cured if we can successfully handle genetic editing or gene editing or genome editing. But for genome editing to take place, we first have to go for genome sequencing. But you know that by altering the human DNA, you can also go for production of designer babies. You can go for extracting special traits among the people. And this can result into, you know, it will result into, you can say, manhandling of the nature, and which is having some ethical considerations. Therefore, this genome sequencing and genome editing, they are referred to as not just beneficial to human being, but they are also considered as ethical issues. So their handling has to be regulated and all the dimensions must be taken care of. In that pursuit, many people have commented that human genome sequencing should not be taken forward. However, we know that there are many important advantages of human genome sequencing, and therefore World Health Organization on 14 July 2021, it has come out with some recommendations about the human genome sequencing. So the context of this video is simple, that World Health Organization this week has released 2 new companion reports that provide the recommendations about the human genome editing, all right, and establish the human genome editing as a tool for public health. So World Health Organization has attempted to establish human genome editing not as an ethical issue, but as a tool or research of public health. All right. Now, these recommendations, they focus upon 3 areas: safety related to human genome sequencing, effectiveness of human genome sequencing, as well as the ethical concerns related to human genome sequencing. These recommendations, they provide advice and recommendations on institutional, national, regional, and global governance mechanism for human genome editing. So let us now look at the summary of these important recommendations, which might be asked as part of a question in your general studies paper for ethics syllabus, as well as they can be asked very well in your general studies paper 3 under the section of science and technology. So let us proceed ahead and appreciate the summary of the recommendations of the World Health Organization on human genome sequencing and human genome editing. So first and foremost, the World Health Organization, it has recommended that the World Health Organization, along with its Director General, it should play a very scientific as well as moral leadership role to regulate the human genome sequencing as an ethical activity meant for betterment of public health. So it envisage the important role to be played by World Health Organization as well as its Director General. The World Health Organization cannot be a mute spectator related to any ethical or scientific issue concerning the human genome sequencing. So one thing from point number 1 is clear, that World Health Organization recognizes the human genome sequencing as a very important tool of public health and also aims to promote it along with regulation of any kind of ethical concerns associated to it. Secondly, it talks about the international collaboration to be the primary resource for the governance and oversight over the human genome sequencing. It says that it should not be the prerogative of any one important country or a powerful country. It should not be just prerogative of a group of few countries. Rather, the international collaboration should take into consideration all the steps that are necessary for the effective governance and oversight of anything, any research, any activity related to human genome sequencing. Further, the World Health Organization has recommended that we must go for creating the human genome editing registries. And what will be the purpose of these registries? These registries will promote the collaborative and cooperative research into human genome sequencing and gene editing. That is, this research must be open, this research must be collaborative, and this research must include participation from all the important stakeholders, and it should not be the prerogative of few countries. Rather, every country should go forward to share its revelations and important findings. All right, so it promotes international cooperation and collaboration, not just in governance and oversight of human genome sequencing, but also into the research, collaborative research, cooperative research. Further, the World Health Organization says that this human genome sequencing and human genome editing related research should only be allowed to take place in those countries which have a jurisdiction, all right, which have a jurisdiction that consists of certain domestic policy as well as oversight mechanism to regulate the human genome editing and research. All right, so it should not be any random country can start human genome sequencing or human genome editing related research. Only those countries which have domestic policy and oversight mechanism as part of their jurisdiction should be allowed for carrying out this research so that they can better regulate the unethical acts related to human genome sequencing as well as human genome editing. All right. Further, if we look at the next summary, it says that World Health Organization should not be a passive entity, rather World Health Organization be a active entity to create a multi-sectoral collaboration to develop accessible mechanism for confidential reporting of concerns about possible illegal, unregistered, unethical, and unsafe human editing research as well as human genome sequencing related activities. That is, they should create a body by multi-sectoral collaboration where people can clandestinely, hiddenly report any kind of illegal, unauthorized, unregistered, unethical, and unsafe research that is carried out related to human genome sequencing as well as editing. All right, so this is about, you can say, silent reporting, latent reporting, or ethical reporting of unethical acts. Further, the World Health Organization should not be a passive entity according to these reports, and the World Health Organization has to play a leadership role to honor the intellectual property of the people who have contributed in the development of these research related to human genome sequencing and human genome editing. All right, so it's not that the discovery of one particular country is of no good use and it is being exploited by other country for its own benefit. So World Health Organization has to take up proactive roles to protect the intellectual property rights of the people who have discovered the research and important findings related to human genome sequencing and human genome editing. And in this pursuit, the World Health Organization is going to collaborate with other countries, such as other organizations, such as World Intellectual Property Organization and World Trade Organization. So along with WIPO and WTO, you can say this World Health Organization has to play an important role in you can say protection of the intellectual property. Further, the United Nations should be robbed in by the World Health Organization for, you can say, creating a target, or you can say interagency working group for the new kind of technologies which are popularly known as frontier technologies, to ensure education, engagement, and empowerment of the people in the frontier technologies such as human genome sequencing and human genome editing. And lastly, the World Health Organization, it has recommended that a repeated review of modifications of these recommendations have to take place in a time-bounded manner, which should not be more than 3 years. That is, every 3 years, these recommendations have to be evaluated and any kind of changes have to be made regularly. All right, so these were the summary of the World Health Organization recommendations on, you can say, the human genome sequencing or human genome editing. So I will conclude this lecture by making a final dictum. That is, there is no doubt that the benefits of human genome sequencing related research, they are very significant benefits. They cannot be ignored and they must be adopted. But then World Health Organization is of the opinion that these kind of adoption of the human genome sequencing and human genome editing related research must be done in a very ethical manner, all right, with a proper oversight and regulatory framework in place. All right, so with this, I will conclude the session. I hope that all the recommendations are clear to you. These points are very, very important from your general studies paper 4 point of view, as well as it is important from general studies paper 3 science and tech related question point of view. With this, I will conclude the session. I hope it was a good learning experience for you. That's all from my end. Have a great day ahead. Take care and bye.